Hey everyone, welcome to Things Lucy Reads. I'm Luce and this is my April wrap-up. Okay, so the first book that I read was a manga, which I read online. I will put a link to the site where you can read it down below if you're interested. It's called Stretch. It's about these two women that live together and one of them is studying to be a doctor. So she convinces the other one that they should be stretching in their everyday lives to keep themselves fit and flexible. I don't think it's finished yet. I think it's ongoing. It's pretty cute. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, which was a little bit difficult because, like I said, it's not finished. And also it was marketed as a Yuri manga, but there's no Yuri in it yet. So I don't know if or when that is ever going to happen, but we will find out, I guess. The next book that I read is Volume 1 of Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon by Naoko Takeuchi. I probably butchered that. This was my first introduction ever to Sailor Moon. I never watched the show when I was little and I never read these before this year. And it was pretty good. I gave this volume 3 stars, mostly because it was just introductions and stuff, so not much really happened, but I really did enjoy it. And then the next book that I read is The Graveyard Book Volume 2 by P. Craig Russell, which is an adaptation of The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, and I gave this 5 stars. It was just absolutely beautiful. I love The Graveyard Book, I love this adaptation, and just endless amounts of love. If you haven't read this already, read it. And then the next book that I read was part of a thing that I do every now and then called a Quick Reads Marathon, where I get like 10 or so books that are under 200 pages and I try to read them all in a week. And I've done it twice and both times I've only read like 4 or 5 books, but that's okay. Life gets in the way. Sometimes I pick bad books that take me ages to read, so you know, one day it will happen. Until then, I'm happy with only reading some. And the first book that I read for that is the second volume of Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. I gave this one 5 stars. This one was just non-stop action and there were twists and turns around every corner and I was just riveted the whole way through. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that this might be my favourite volume. I haven't even read the other 4 yet, but this one was pretty great. Okay, and then the next book that I read was Precious and the Monkeys by Alexander McCall Smith, which I also read as part of my Quick Reads Marathon. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It was really cute. It is a middle grade spin-off of the No. 1 Ladies Detective Agency series, featuring the main character, Precious Ramotsui, as a child. Yeah, it was, like I said, it was really cute. And it has these amazing illustrations in it, just all in shades of red and black and white. And so it's a really beautiful book and the story was great. The only thing is that it was a little bit predictable. I get that it's for very young children, but the title gives it away. So yeah, but I would definitely recommend this one. I'm going to keep it so I can read it to my children. So yeah, and I'm really excited to read the No. 1 Ladies Detective Agency series now, because if it's anything like this, it's going to be excellent. Then the next book that I read is a 5-star book, and that is The Ice Dragon by George R.R. Martin. I just absolutely love this book. It's another middle grade one about this child that is born and kind of her mother dies. Like they say that the cold of the winter got in the room and took her mother away, and so the child is then very cold like the winter. She doesn't cry and she doesn't laugh and she doesn't really speak to anyone or, you know, have much contact with other people. And then one winter she meets this ice dragon that comes to her and she becomes friends with it and rides around. And yeah, it was just really interesting. I'm pretty sure it's set in Westeros, but that was never explicitly stated. It was just the fact that the north is so cold that I thought maybe, but I mean the north is cold everywhere except in Australia. So yeah, it's definitely worth reading. It was a really great standalone fantasy book, and yeah, just I absolutely loved it. Okay, and then the next book I read was a 2 out of 5 star book, and that is The Last Girlfriend on Earth by Simon Rich. I was baffled by this book. It is supposed to be a collection of short stories that are comedy. Maybe it's just because I didn't grow up watching Saturday Night Live, and most of the comedy that we get here in Australia, if it's not Australian or from New Zealand, it's British. We don't get very much American comedy. American shows are the last thing that we get. We get our own and New Zealand's and Britain's first. So I found very few of these stories actually funny. And in fact, I think the entire book was rife with just disgusting sexism and misogyny. And all of the male characters were distinctly unlikable. Like, I'm sure that they were 2 seconds away from calling friend zone, you know? Yeah, I don't understand, and I'm never going to read something of Simon Richards again because I just don't find him funny. There are a few stories in this that I liked, one that I thought was funny, but just overall, I don't understand. I did write a review for this on Goodreads, and I will link that down below. And I won't be keeping this book. And the next book that I read is a 3 out of 5 star book, and that is The Newspaper of Claremont Street by Elizabeth Jolley. This was a strange book. It kind of just went along in the same vein for for most of it, and then in the last 2 pages, everything kind of changed and it got unexpectedly gruesome. So that was a little bit weird. Yeah, like Elizabeth Jolley, I think, is famous for writing kind of macabre stories, but yeah, this one felt too sudden to me, and I don't think I'm ever going to read it again. So, okay, and then the next book that I read was Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, or Gillian Flynn, however it is that you say that. I gave this 3.75 out of 5. I appreciate the amount of thought and effort that must have gone into writing this. It's amazing. The plot is so great, and just Amy is such a fascinating character. Like, she's literally crazy, and like I'm sure she's like literally a psychopath. And I kind of loved that she was like that. Like, just, I mean, she's so unlikable, but I loved her for that because that was just so great. But everyone else I kind of hated. And the only thing is that the first half of the book is so slow and nothing really happens. And it is not till you get to part 2, which is this far in, that things actually start happening and you actually find out concrete things about what happened and what is going on. So it took me so long to get through the first part that I considered just DNFing it. And then I reached part 2 and I was like, okay, now I get it. But then I didn't like the ending. I kind of thought the ending was a little bit of a cop-out. I mean, I understand, it makes sense in the context. But just, yeah. I was impressed with the writing of this book, like like I said, like the effort and the thought that must have gone into the plot and into the character of Amy. But I'm just not really that impressed with the book itself. But I do want to see the movie. I've heard that maybe the ending is different, so yeah, we'll see. I think it's definitely worth reading. And the last 2 books that I read, I gave both 5 stars, and they are the first and only 2 volumes of The Movement by Gail Simone and Freddie Williams II. This is a superhero comic set in Coral City, which is in the same universe as Gotham and Metropolis, obviously, because it's DC. This is just a really great, really diverse superhero series. It was cancelled after 6 issues. I'm so annoyed about. You heard about that in my haul, so I will not get back into it there. Yeah, and I know I said this in my haul as well, but it's great in terms of diversity. These are the 6 main characters. There are 4 girls and only 2 boys. Can we just? More girls than boys. That is amazing. And then there is, I forget their names now. But then 3 of them are women of color. This one is from Thailand. This one I think is African American, and this one is a Bengali woman. This one here you can't see on this copy, but you can on this one. She is in a wheelchair, but still has superpowers and can still use them, and she's really cool. She's one of my favorites. Actually, you know what? They're all my favorites. And yeah, so there's this region of the city that they control. They're like a vigilante group, and they kind of carry out their own justice there because the police force is really corrupt. So yeah, they've kind of taken over this area of the city, and it's like an unspoken rule that the police don't go there, they just let them fend for themselves. But then one time the police do go there and it starts kind of like a shitstorm. And then, so that was this one, and then for this one, Batgirl cameos, and so the Movement, which is the name of the group, help Batgirl with the reason that she's in Coral City. So yeah, that was really, really cool. Like I said, really great in terms of diversity, not just racial diversity and with the disabled character, but also in terms of sexuality. We have 2 gay characters and 1 asexual character, like canonically asexual. All 3 of those people are one of the main 6, so yeah. It's definitely worth reading. I'm so sad that it was cancelled because it's so amazing, and I gave both of these 5 stars. Definitely grab this if you can, because it's so great. So yeah, they were the books that I read in April. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you've thought. Especially let me know if you felt kind of let down by Gone Girl, because I feel everyone loves it unconditionally and then I just didn't. Please tell me I'm not alone. That is all for this video, and I will see you when I see you. Bye everyone.